I just finished reading Chainsaw Part 1. I'm gonna share my thoughts with y'all because I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the best mangas I have ever read. I am a fan of Fujimoto's work. I've never really checked out any of his work. I've heard about it and stuff, but this is actually my first time actually reading through everything. And oh my god, man, it is crazy how much like jam packed there is in like such a short amount of time, if that makes sense. Because only that what the manga wasn't even over 100 chapters for part one, and I feel like we just got so much out of it and stuff. And it's just one of those things. Like, and I know there's a part two. I'll probably check out part two in the future. As of right now, though, I just kind of want to share my thoughts with you on part one because I watched the anime. I feel like everybody did. I know a lot of people had their opinions on it and whatnot. Some people thought it was good. Some people thought it was bad. Could have used a different direction choice in terms of animation and stuff. And then a lot of people, from what I saw online and stuff like that, they loved the movie. I was one of them. And that really made me want to check out the manga and just finish it and see what's up. Because I've heard a lot of people talk good about it and stuff. That's saying it's one of the best mangas they've ever read and stuff. And so I'm like, all right, let me see what's up. Because after I watched the Rize movie, which I thought, which by the way was a fantastic from one of the best anime films I've ever seen. I'm like, all right, let me read the manga, and I kid y'all not, when you read the manga after the movie, it's like if you thought the other arcs were like really good, like the arcs just top one after another until you finally reach its climax, and it's just insane. There's 3 arcs, so I'm gonna try to go individually through each arc. I'm not gonna go through every single little detail. I just kind of want to give you my likes and stuff like that, and just overall what I thought about the series. So that's kind of how we'll go by. Now, this arc was good for many reasons, but one of my favorite reasons about the arc in particular that, like I said, after the movie, it just goes super crazy. We were introduced to a lot of characters in this arc, but a lot of them actually died. And one of my favorite characters that we were introduced to in this arc, her name was Quancy, I believe, some shit like that. She's the little girl with the eye patch. But she was actually lesbian, so she has like a harem of girls and stuff like that. But one thing I found interesting about her, stuff like that, is she wanted all her loved ones, like the girls that she likes and stuff like that, for them to live and have like not necessarily a normal life, but like to live and stuff like that. So I really did like that aspect that even though she's like a hunter or whatever, she does have feelings. You know what I'm saying? Despite the job that she has and stuff like that. This arc was really crazy too because everybody at this point is hard to get dingy and stuff like that. We also got some major reveals in this arc as well, like Santa Claus. That was a really good villain in this arc as well. But one thing too that really stood out to me is Kishibe. There was a panel that he didn't outright say it, but he wrote it, and she pretty much was like, Makima's listening. And see, I never trusted Makima ever since like we were introduced to her and like what stuff that she kind of did and stuff like that. I've always kind of been off on her, but this even what he wrote down really, because he's actually wanting to take her down and stuff like that, and he needs help. And so this is one of those things like, okay, but I'm wondering what is Makima's true goal at this point and stuff like that. What's her purpose, even though, because she gave Denji a life, family and stuff. And so I start questioning myself, like, what is Makima's true ideals and stuff like that. But either way though, I thought that whole interaction was really interesting just to note at that time and stuff like that. And then shit gets even crazier because throughout the middle of the battle, guess you want to say, we get thrown into like the darkness devil appears. I believe that's the devil's name. And then I'm not gonna lie, it was really short, but it was crazy because I really do wonder if this devil comes back in the future or not, because everything was just pure darkness around and stuff. He takes off everybody's arms. It was really crazy and really scary if you really think about it, because when he first appeared, you see astronauts like chopped off. And I know someone, I was reading a comment on TikTok, and someone said that the reason Fujimoto kind of did this is because in the darkness, you the first thing that you try to do is use your hands so you can like see what's around you and stuff. So I guess that's the reason why he chopped off all their hands and stuff like that, like the arms, my bad. And I was like, oh shit, I know shit. I'm like, okay, but yeah. And then Makima came in. And see, Makima is always watching, so the fact that she can control life forms, like in terms of like animals and stuff, I'm like, okay, this bitch is crazy. But she appears and she's going head to head with the Darkness Devil, and then she escapes, but she obviously does a contract or whatnot. And then we go back to the present time, and then at the very end, Denji battles Santa Claus and stuff like that. And then at the very end of that arc, pretty much Kushibe and then the other guy, they use their blindfolds because they don't want to witness what's about to happen and stuff. And like I said, overall the arc was really crazy. So much shit happened in such a short amount of time, which is why I said I was so invested in this manga, because like so much shit happens, but at the same time it doesn't feel rushed or anything. It's like the perfect pace when you really think about it. And like I said, I really love this arc. When I read to the Gun Devil arc, oh, like when it begins, yo, this arc was crazy because it first started off with like that dream sequence that we've been kind of teased at for a while, where like I think Pochita's telling Denji, "Don't open that door, don't open that door." uh I'm just like, okay, shit, Fujimoto's bringing those up for a reason, and then we keep going and stuff like that, and then he will be taking a trip. Normally, he takes his trip by himself to go pay respect in his hometown and stuff like that to the people he lost or whatever. But this time, Denji and Power are gonna come with him, and they go on this trip with him and stuff like that. And I kind of like these downside little talks and stuff like that because it really shows the character of Aki, Power, and Denji, how far they've come, especially Denji, because he has a good relationship with Power. It's not so much a sexual relationship, maybe how it would have been at the beginning of Denji's arc, because he's kind of grown and stuff like that. He can differentiate his feelings a little bit now and stuff, and he views Power as, a sister, like a platonic type of relationship, which I really like. Aki, I love Aki because he views Power and Denji as like family, you know what I'm saying, like little sister, little brother, and I really like that aspect. And his whole entire goal whenever he became, I believe, a devil or whatever, if I remember correctly, so he can get revenge on the Go Devil. And then pretty much Kushibe talks to him and stuff like that. They're about to do the expedition, and then pretty much Aki's like, I don't want to do it anymore because I don't want to lose my family. And I'm like, oh man, but see, that's the thing though. Once you start liking a character, something is not good's gonna happen to that character. Well, at least in terms of like Chainsaw Man World and stuff like that. But then another thing too that I suspected more is Makima kind of had like this little trick or whatever, and then she convinces him in a certain way to like come back on the trip. Well, not really convince him, but obviously he didn't want Denji or Power to go by themselves. So Aki is like, all right, I'll go, because obviously he doesn't want to lose his loved ones. And then to find out, pretty much that Makima's the control devil. See, I didn't expect she was the control devil, but I did think she had like some type of powers in order to control. But I guess in order to control a human or a devil, whatever, like they physically have to say half, what I'm saying? They have to physically say it or something like that because of with the eyes and stuff. And then I didn't know also Angel, his backstory, and then I guess Makima can like kind of alter your memory so you forget or something and stuff like that, because she told Angel Devil, I think, if I remember correctly when I was reading it, like, oh, so I can't believe you broke out of this spell or some shit like that. So I guess she can alter people's memories and make them forget, at what point what they did and stuff like that with their lives. But yeah, her pretty much having like the whole entire hybrids to her side, and Aki now on her side and Angel on her side, and that to me was really crazy. Because I'm like, okay, so she is the final villain of this boss. So how is the Gun Devil gonna play into Park? But I guess she also wanted the Gun Devil to be on her side, and so pretty much they kind of not necessarily battle, but when we got introduced to the Gun Devil, bro, his introduction was so cold. I do wonder how Mappa will be animating the Gun Devil, because that's gonna be super crazy. But as soon as he appears, he just kills everybody within seconds, everybody within fucking seconds. There's like a whole list of names that he kills and stuff like that, which is fucking crazy. And then as we go and stuff like that, we don't really get, it's like off screen, so we don't really get to see like who dies and what, but obviously Makima dies, but then she revives again, because like you see like this halo coming in her head, but it's like kind of made out of blood, I want to say, or whatever. And she uses like the contracts from like the other devils and stuff to defeat the Gun Devil. And then pretty much I guess when Denji says, or when Pochita says, don't open the door, as the more we go on and stuff like that, you pretty much see him open the door, and it's pretty much Aki. So maybe that was the reference. I believe that was the reference. It's like, don't open the door, and that's, Aki outside the door, because the Gun Devil controlled Aki at that point. And that whole entire fight scene was just crazy, man. It really hurt my heart, because I'm like, damn. It kind of reminded me of Obito and Kakashi, but obviously way different circumstances. But I like how Fujimoto did that fight, because every time Aki threw something, like in this dream world sequence, like where he was happy as a kid and stuff like that with Denji or whatever, like his own world, it would happen in like actual time, but he's actually killing bystanders, and like he's actually like killing people and stuff and trying to harm Denji and stuff. So I really like that aspect, and that whole entire fight was really sad, because when it was over, you see the future devil, I believe, appear at the very end. It's like, this is the worst possible outcome you could have had. And yeah, that shit was fucking sad, bro. That shit broke the fuck out of me. And the control double arc is just even crazier. Like I said, every arc after the movie, I feel like just tops one after another after another. Shit breaks all loose, bro. Pretty much Denji falls into like this depression state with like Makima just kind of making fun of him and stuff. And like the craziest part is she kills power in front of Denji, man. I'm just like, damn, man. Like, see, every character that I liked in Chainsaw Man is pretty much has been dead, and it's just fucking sad. But it does show, like, nobody's safe in this world of, that Fujimoto did and stuff like that, which, increases, obviously, the chance of you surviving is very low. And yeah, it's just one of those things, like, don't get attached to a fake character because you never know what's gonna happen. But yeah, this arc was crazy because like I said, Denji kind of falls into like this depressed state, whatnot. Makima takes advantage of Denji's weakness and stuff, because Denji at this point, I guess he's never really made any choices for himself throughout the story and stuff like that. He's always dependent on someone, and even throughout everything that Makima has done and stuff like that, Denji still believes in Makima and still loves her and stuff like that. Some people may call it simp, but at the end of the day, you've never had like any interaction with different girls or anything. It's your first experience for everything. Obviously, you're gonna feel some type of way. It's gonna be hard for you to, like, really, try to make your own decisions and stuff like that. But like I said, overall, this arc was amazing, bro. You actually get to see, at first when I was reading, I thought it was Denji, but no, it's Pochita taking full form of Denji, and I'm like, holy fuck, this form is so sick. And you get some super sick panels of them, and like, oh, see, this is one of my favorite things too when I was reading the manga, bro. Do you get this nice shot of like all the hybrids pulling up or like around Denji, and Pochita, my bad, Pochita, and they're just going all loud and stuff like that. Makima joins the fight or whatever, and just you get some sick ass panels. Makima sends Pochita all the way in space, and then he takes his heart out and puts it all the way back on Earth and stuff. And yeah, some sick ass panels. And I when I was reading, I'm like, yeah, when this shit gets animated, this shit's finna go crazy. Like, if we saw what we saw in the anime and in the movie, they're definitely gonna go all out, and I just can't imagine, man. But yeah, the whole entire fight was really cool, and then Denji goes back in for round 2 and stuff like that. And I thought the fitting of her killing Makima with the chainsaw was really well. I don't know, for some reason it kind of, I don't know, I really like that aspect, because essentially the only reason why he could do it in the first place, because obviously because of power, the blood they give him. But Makima never really saw Denji as for Denji, if that makes sense. She only saw Chainsaw Man, Pochita. That's all he ever saw in Denji. So I guess that's the reason why it worked and stuff like that. But yeah, throughout the whole entire story was really badass. And then towards the very end, Denji ends up eating Makima, and then Makima pretty much is dead at this point. But there is another control devil. I forgot the little girl's name, like Yuta or some shit like that, whatever. And then Kushibe. I forgot that he's one of the strongest devil hunters and stuff like that, and pretty much tells Denji, like, hey, watch over her and stuff like that. I got a lot of stuff to do, whatnot. But the fact that he always believed in Denji, that he could be a really great devil hunter, was really cool to see and stuff. But yeah, like I said, throughout the whole entire just story in general, like I said, I didn't want to go through like every single little plot point or detail. I just kind of wanted to give you all my thoughts of like each arc or whatever. But each arc to me was fantastic. I know some people have what their preference of their favorite arc or whatnot, but if I had to say what's my favorite arc in Chainsaw Man, I'm not gonna lie, it's the Gun Devil arc, just because of like the whole Aki thing, and then actually being introduced to the Gun Devil for just that short amount of time, seeing how it looks, crazy ass design. But all the other arcs were fantastic. I know a lot of people like the assassination work as well, or the control devil arc, each his own, right? But yeah, like I said, fantastic manga. Like I said, for only being under 100 chapters and getting so much out of it, so much symbolism and stuff, and little hints here and there that, like, you don't really catch that the first time reading. Like, sometimes I had to reread a couple chapters. I'm like, okay, so this is what I missed and stuff, or people pointing certain things out that I didn't get the first time. I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, like I said, overall fantastic series. I do wonder, I never figure out, y'all could probably correct me, but what is the, like, does Darkness Devil, will it ever appear in part 2? I know I have certain questions, but, like, what I'm saying, like, another thing too, like Kobani, I never realized, I don't think they ever stated what's her, like, devil or anything, and I don't know if she's like the lucky devil, or I don't fucking know. But I don't know, her character to me, like, I don't know, there's always been questions about her and stuff like that. I always thought there was more to her character, but maybe she'll appear more in part 2 and stuff like that. But yeah, nevertheless, I just kind of want to share my thoughts overall of Chainsaw Man and stuff because I really did enjoy part one. It was fucking fantastic. Like I said, so much action, so much crazy stuff that happened. Nobody's safe in Fujimoto's world. That's one thing for sure. I wonder if his other work is like this as well because I've heard good things about Fire Punch and then his other one shots and stuff. But I might check his other stuff out for sure. But yeah, like I said, just wanted to share my thoughts. Let me know what y'all think. If y'all did enjoy this video and want me to check out a different manga or whatnot, let me know. With that being said, I appreciate all the support. Keep supporting. It's free. Don't take much to subscribe. Check out my other videos, and